Hello, and welcome to the demo on building microservices with Quarkus and Cassandra. In the words of the famous programmer Nicholas Wirth, programs is equal to algorithms plus data structures. And in a world where speed matters, Quarkus is about a reactive platform, and Cassandra is really about responsive data. And used together, it's a great combination for microservices. My name is Raghavan Srinivas. I go by Rags, and I am a developer advocate at DataStax. So the agenda for this demo is pretty simple. We have a brief presentation followed by mainly live coding. We will have a workshop later in October where you can get hands-on with the same material and we'll touch on the same aspects of the workshop, but it will be at a fairly high level in this demo. So the inner loop is where there are maximum productivity gains. Immediate feedback, as you know, is very critical in the loop, and we'll see this in action today. This is really fundamentally new to Java programmers to be able to see immediate results. But even though it's might look different and the platform does new things, it's still Java. And you can still use your favorite IDE, whatever it is, IntelliJ or Visual Studio. I myself use Visual Studio in this demo, but you can use really anything you want. Of course, the second part of the programming equation I talked about before is responsive data. Cassandra has always been known for its performance. The biggest criticism for Cassandra was that it was hard to get started, but Astra makes it really, really easy by providing a Cassandra as a service in the cloud without really any maintenance headaches. There is even a free tier without a credit card that developers love to use. Basically leverages the Quarkus Cassandra extension, which we'll see in today's demo as well. So with that said, let's jump straight into the demo. So before I start the demo, I just want to give a little bit of background. It's a fairly simple application. Basically, it's a simple to-do application which stores the data in Cassandra. So what we'll do is we'll look at the platform briefly and then deploy it into Kubernetes like any typical microservices application would, and also see how a native app can be generated. So what a native app means, the JVM is done, right? You're not even going to use the JVM, but it's going to work exactly the same way. And again, we'll be fairly high level here, but we'll go more in depth in the workshop. So with that said, let me jump straight into the demo. So like I said, it's all Java. So it is really leveraging Maven, which most Java programs do. So to be able to use this, basically what I'm doing here is I'm running a target called Quarkus dev, and essentially I'm skipping tests here, but Quarkus framework is great for testing as well. But in the interest of simplicity, I'm just doing a build without running the tests. And you'll see here, essentially what is happening is, it's building it and providing access to this particular port 5005 for debugging. I'm not going to do debugging, but what I'll show here is that kind of hot reloading, the hot code reloading. So to be able to do that, I'm going to go into Visual Studio, okay? And if you want to pay attention here, look at this fork me on GitHub, right? And you can see that this program is already running, okay? So this program is running, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a very simple change, okay? So fork me, I'm going to say today, okay, on GitHub, okay? And as soon as I hit my save, you should be able to see that change reflected there. You can see the ribbon here got changed, and essentially what it did was picked up the changes. A lot of things happened under the covers, but we don't really need to worry about that. We can also get some information on the Quarkus framework itself, like for example, about Prometheus, micrometer metrics, it leverages REST easy, and so on and so forth. So let's go back and look at this. Actually, let's do one more thing, which is look at what are the different options. For example, you can do testing, we can force a restart, we can do toggle the live reload, and so on. Like any microservice, this could be invoked from another service as well. Just to kind of simulate that, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to essentially invoke a service which inserts a to-do. Okay, the inserting to-do is done using Astra. As you can see here, I'm using Astra. It provides me with my SQL console, and all that I'm doing here is I'm inserting into to-do list and what are the different fields like list ID, whether it's completed or not, and what's the title. Okay, and we'll take a moment to kind of go through this, right? So my coach tells me do this, from another service, right? So I'm going to take a look at this. If I look at the the entries, you will see that this entry got added, right? So if I go back to my program, okay, and just run it again, okay, refresh it, you should be able to see this. Okay, so coach said do this, right? I'm gonna say okay, I did this, and I'm gonna clear it, right? So that's pretty much how this program works and how the microservices approach. The nice thing about this is kind of the reloading part, and also like I said, you can do debugging and all that. I'm not going to show all of that because just don't have the time right now. So with that, let's move to the next one, which is really about containerizing this application. So containerizing this application is pretty straightforward. All that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Docker push, and I leverage a plugin called Jib. Okay, and what I'm doing here is I'm pushing the container image, and again, I'm skipping the tests. Okay, so what's going to happen here is if I go back to my Docker Hub repository, it's going to automatically push this. So you can see here, there is a Quarkus Cassandra. Okay, and if you notice, you'll see that it was about an hour ago, right? And eventually, this is going to push here. And you will see a latest version of this containerized image. Okay, so give it a moment. Okay, and you see here it was updated a few seconds ago, right? From an hour. Now, one of the cool things it does, it also generates manifests, the Kubernetes manifests. And all that I need to do to be able to run it in a container is just apply this. Okay, so what it's doing is it generated the manifest. Okay, and we can take a look at that manifest in a second. Maybe we can take a look at it right now. Okay, and if you go into target, okay, and look at Kubernetes, okay, and Kubernetes.yaml, you'll see here that it's generating this. It just generated it for us. So how do I stand up the container? Is just run this, right? And pretty soon this should be up and running. So let's take a look at the services. If only I can spell it. All right, and it should be up and running. So notice it's running on port 80, right? I'm running it basically on my local Docker desktop. You really can run it anywhere, including like a Cassandra cluster if you want. But essentially what this is doing is, again, connecting to, the AstraDB, right? So if I do this, it should not work because, it's the previous invocation that we got rid of, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the Dockerized version or the Kubernetes version, and you will see here that I'm able to invoke my containerized application. So as simple as that to be able to do a containerized application. But we can go one step further, right? And to be able to do that, so let me go ahead and delete this because I don't think I need this. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to generate a native image. And to run the native image, all that I do is, again, package it. I'm not going to do a clean. And this is going to take a while to build, but you will see a lot of things happening. All right, the build completed, and essentially what it did was use JNI, right, and generated the native image. To be able to run the native image, all that I need to do is run the image just like that, right? So this is the Astra demo runner, and that's pretty much it. So it's running the Quarkus framework. It's asking me to open up the port, and now I'm ready to run it. So now if I go back to localhost, this should not be running because this is the previous incantation. So now if I run 8080, it should be bringing up the latest native image. And that's pretty much it to running a native image, very straightforward to do. So what we did in the light coding was essentially looked at the platform, which is really Java, leveraging Maven, the IDE that you're used to. And then what we did was we built a Java image, right, a jar, and essentially, saw how we could do hot reloading, debugging, and so on. And then what we did was we containerized it because, you're using it as a microservices. It's really about, like I said, fast programs and fast data and to be able to kind of put that together. And the last part that we did was, you can generate it as a native image and maybe even containerize that. So there are, make the startup really, really fast, which is one of the key things that you want to do in microservices. You can try it out yourself. Pretty straightforward. There are a number of quick starts that Quarkus provides. And then, like I said, you can look at the Quarkus metrics by just putting the /q/dev on the path. Astra is very easy to use. All that I did was I used a secure connect bundle to be able to connect to the particular Astra database, which is on the, in the cloud. And we are going to, again, have a Quarkus and Cassandra workshop later in October that you're welcome to attend. With that said, thank you very much.